Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the OPL Saturday for Round 9. It is the start of an all-important round. Top teams are keen to avoid dropping any games against beatable opposition because places 1 through 5 on the ladder are still up in the air, and each place you drop means an extra round in the grueling finals gauntlet for our teams. We've got 2 huge, decisive matches of League of Legends for you today, starting off with the rematch of Legacy versus Avant. Garde. Last time these guys met, Legacy took the bonus points with a 2-0, but this time around, AV need to win this series to even have a chance of taking 3rd place in the gauntlet. Legacy, however, are reunited with their mid laner Claire back from suspension after 2 weeks out on the bench. And speaking of suspensions, it's week 2 of the competitive ruling against the Chiefs. So, while the regular team is behind, the regular team's behinds are firmly planted on the naughty step with Swiper, who's obviously just there for moral support. Their substitute roster Chiefs B team has their work cut out for them against the Direwolves. A 2-0 for Chiefs today would see them go top of the table and basically guarantee them that minor premiership before the main team returns from O's prison, directly seeding them into the grand final. But an informed Direwolves, my goodness, they are certainly favourites over this ragtag bunch of merry men today. All right, like a negotiation over museum regulations between the UK and Greece, we're playing for all the marbles. That is a great joke. I won't hear anyone dispute it. It's a great joke about colonial acquisitions in the 19th century. All right, joining me here at the desk is Minky Whale and Mendrix. Mendrix, obviously, our in-house OPL analyst. Minky Whale, co-owner and operator of Legacy Esports. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks,
and,
no problem.
Yeah. Last time you were on the desk, actually, Legacy 2-0 Chiefs. So you're a bit of a good luck charm for the guys.
Yeah, well, we're just good. That's all. So, yeah, we're going to 2-0 again today, obviously.
Well, it's not the prediction segment. You've got to save your predictions. And Mendrix, obviously, this week, a big week for you to claw back some points in the tipping comp.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, last week I ended up losing a few points there, especially when I actually decided to put Legacy to win 2-0 last week. So I took a little bit of a hit there afterwards, but definitely looking to claw some back this week.
Are you in the tipping comp, Minky Whale, or as an owner operator, you're not allowed in?
I don't think I'm allowed, and no, I'm not in.
But today, you're tipping your boys.
Yep.
All right, well, let's get a look at your your tips for later in. Let's take a look at the standings. Right now, we see Chiefs and Direwolves equal on points, but Chiefs had the head-to-head. Legacy then coming in 3rd after a loss last week against Sin. AV and Sin Gaming as well on equal points, but AV have the head-to-head ahead of them playing each other next week. Then in the drop zone is Tainted Minds, Abyss, and Exile 5. And you've got to think for these 3 teams, they just got to be preparing for that promo relegation tournament, Mendrix.
Yeah, and these guys really do need to sort of just sit back, have a look at what they can get out of this experience, and just be prepared to bring it to next season.
All right, well, let's take a look at our first match. It is the Team V team of AV versus Legacy. And Mendrix, last time these guys met up, AV, they lost 0-2 versus Legacy, and last week as well, they dropped a game versus Abyss.
Yeah, so really at the moment, it seems to be sort of that was when they had that bit of lapse in form when they went up against Legacy. Now they're looking to turn that around, and these guys, we are expecting them to do a little bit more in terms of how they play Evolve, especially using Sybil as well.
Well, they went up against Legacy week 1, and they were a very new team at the time, so It's been 9 weeks now. I'm expecting a new AV to go up against us, and I do expect a challenge coming out.
And also we see for you guys, returning to the mid lane is Claire after 2 weeks away. So you feeling pretty pumped about that?
Yeah, I mean, he's out of O's prison, finally, and he's happy to be playing again. He had a lot of time to watch a lot of scrims and to really improve on the macro side of the game rather than the mechanical side of the game. So I think he'll be better.
Let's see if his giant brain is a deciding factor in today's match. Earlier today, I spoke to the captain of AV, Jake, about their upcoming match. And after a scrappy win last week, I asked him how the team were preparing for this week.
As I said last week, I think right now we're locked into the 4th, 5th match for the Gauntlet, like 100%. So we're just looking to play like spoilers, I guess, for the top 3 teams and really just start practicing for the best of 5s heading into the Gauntlet.
Sure. Going up against Legacy today, what would a win mean for you guys in terms of the table?
As I just said, I don't think it means anything. It means, I think it locks them into 3rd place if we get a 2-0. So... yeah.
No, you guys can still take 3rd.
We can?
If they lose next week, you can take 3rd. Yeah, it is.
Okay,
It
then
is
we're
physically
getting
possible.
3rd. We're getting 3rd. That's
You're also going to be seeing Claire back in the mid lane for Legacy. Does that change your expectations of the game at all?
I think Claire's definitely a lot more volatile and aggressive compared to Choo Choo's. So, yeah, they'll definitely be a bit more of a wild card in the mid lane.
Excellent stuff. Well, best of luck in the game, and thank you for speaking to us.
Cheers.
Let's take a look at the guys now getting ready. That was our support player and Captain Jake, but having a good laugh there. Let's just realizing what they could achieve in the rest of the season. Let's take a look at their lineup. Their top laner is Series. Their jungler is Sybil. Their mid laner is Triple. Blinky is their AD carry, and their support player, who we just spoke to, is Jake, their captain. And Minky, these guys really needed 2-0 today, not just to cement 4th, but I know you're deep on the table maths, and if Legacy lose today, and next week, AV could take 3rd place.
Correct. They need to win both rounds 2-0, and we need to lose both rounds 2-0.
And
I think it's...
sorry, no, you can go.
I think it's highly unlikely, but it could happen, and that's not an outcome that we want to see.
Absolutely.
No, and just really with that there, it does come down to the fact that Gauntlet's still up in the air. These guys really do need to get in there and make sure they can get as much as they can out of it, because to finish 3rd instead of 4th is a big advantage.
All right, well, across the Rift, their opponents are Legacy, and earlier today I spoke to their team captain, Carbon, and after their surprise loss to Sin last week, I asked Carbon how the team were recovering and preparing this week.
Same as always, to be honest. Just watching AV's games from the last couple of weeks, trying to fix our mistakes from the last game, and trying to build towards a Gauntlet.
So last time you guys played AV, you took it 2-0, picking up that all-important bonus point. Big change for them, though, is that this time they have Sybil in their jungle. Do you see that as a big difference, or are you just playing the game you always play?
No, it's definitely a difference. I think Shelby and Sybil have pretty different play styles. Shelby was a pretty passive jungler, kind of just looking to get into the mid game, whereas Sybil tries to make something happen in the first 10 minutes, really. So definitely changes our game plan going into this to what it was the last time.
All right. Well, also this week, since you guys bring Claire back into the mid, which is very exciting for fans of him and for Legacy. Are you feeling confident? How's he settling in back into the team after the suspension?
Yeah, definitely took a couple of days at the start to kind of just get back into the rhythm of things. But I think now getting a week under our belt has helped, and yeah, really excited to have him back and start looking towards a Gauntlet.
Excellent stuff. Well, best of luck in the games, and thank you for speaking to us.
Thanks, mate.
Let's take a look at Legacy now, getting ready. You can see Coach Solstrike's there in the background, but let's take a look at their lineup. Tally is in the top lane. Their jungler, who we just spoke to, is Carbon. Claire, back from suspension, is their mid laner. Their AD carry is Lost, and their support player is Cupcake. And Mendrix, these guys had a shaky match against Sin last week. Will AV be able to exploit the same game plan, do you think?
Well, it really does beg the question, can Carbon step up? Because the big reason why Sin sort of were able to run amok was because Juves was doing a little bit of manhandling to Carbon, especially in that game too. And Carbon really needs to sort of protect his lanes, be there, because they're really strong laners. These guys like to push up early, they like to take advantage of the lane, and that makes them susceptible to these ganks. So if Carbon is able to sit back, get the protection in there, he really gives him two options. It allows him to go for those heavy invades, or actually move towards shadowing the other jungler, put him on a leash, and keep his lanes under protection.
Well, Mickey, speaking of junglers, let's go Carbon versus Sybil. When you look at these guys, Sybil obviously is a big change for AV since last time they spoke, but how do you think they match up?
Well, I think they both have a similar style. You know, they try to control the enemy jungle. They try to fight the enemy jungle. I just think Carbon has more support in the top lane and the mid lane, and especially with the stronger bot lane as well. So with all the lanes pushing up, it's going to be a lot easier for Carbon to get into the enemy jungle, to invade, to get the wards, and to fight Sivol.
Another thing to look at with those statistics as well, you see that and you go, well, Carbon just seems to be a better copy of Sybil, really, when it comes to, except for the Ivan, that he seems to be doing so much better across the stats. And it really does come down to team play. When another team's performing better, essentially your stats get inflated. Whereas Sybil, he seemed to be, struggling a little bit with the direwolves earlier. Now he's starting to get into form with AV, and really that means is he's time to prop up those stats and get himself back in line.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember though that direwolves weren't exactly a losing side when Sybil was jungling with them. But this is the paradox we were talking about. If Legacy are pushing up all of those lanes, that does open up all of their lanes to being ganked. But you're saying, Mendrix, that potentially Carbon needs to be there to defend those ganks, from those ganks.
That's right. It does get hard because you're sort of playing this juggling match. You kind of go, all right, do I need to protect top? Do I need to protect mid? Who's pushed up further? Who's more susceptible to ganks? And that's why it becomes so important to jump straight onto their jungler. Make sure that you keep them under lock and key, because if they're able to move around the map and you lose sight of them, they get a gank off.
Well, Mickey, let me ask you about this finally, because I just want to drill down on this. When you say that Carbon and Sybil both have a similar game style, I mean, Sybil's talked about how he wants to play a more aggressive jungle style. Is that what you see from Carbon?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Carbon's all about keeping tabs on the enemy jungler, seeing where he is, trying to find him when he can. I mean, that's very easy to do when all your lanes are winning,
Just some unbiased analysis there from the owner of Lazy Esports. Well, I also want to talk, I know you want to talk, Mendrix, about AV, because if they can win, it's going to be through these proactive gameplays we've seen them do before.
That's right. And what I want to see them do, I mean, typically we see them have a great mid-game transition. Typically we see them have a great late-game transition. I want them to actually have that in the early game as well. If they actually manage to pull that out, that means they're sort of rounding themselves out as a team more impressively, and you actually saw this in Game 3 against Abyss. As you can see there, Sybil was being much more aggressive early in the game, so he can actually get himself into these invades and forcing skirmishes, forcing bad decisions out of the enemy team. Abyss are trying to sort of scramble here with a response, but AV are reacting appropriately, and they actually managed to get a double kill early off the back of this. This is really strong and really important, and we really are going to see this again and again with these particular matches, because they're out there forcing those plays from happening, and they're actually able to force responses from, or retaliations from Abyss, where they thought, say, getting a bit desperate. We want to jump in there, force these fights, see if we can make something happen, and AV just respond every single time. They need to be able to do this throughout every single game.
Well, Mickey, I mean, no shade on Abyss, but Abyss is a very different team to Legacy. I mean, can AV do this again against your guys?
I mean, if you do look at that video closely, when Sybil did invade, the team was 400 gold ahead. I think it'd be the opposite scenario against Legacy. So we could see probably Carbon doing what Sybil is doing, mirroring the same play style.
So really, you think Carbon's going to play some aggressive early game?
Yeah, I
get
think
some invades, get some jungle kills?
Yeah, coming in, Sybil would need to kind of switch up if his team isn't playing as well. He'd need to play more defensive and ward defensively, especially if his team is losing. But I mean, anything can happen. It's League of Legends, right?
It is. Let's talk about picks and bans. Is there anything in particular you're expecting to see? Do you think this will be a Braum-Lucian combo out of Legacy today again, Mendrix?
Well, with Lucian actually jumping into priority now, he doesn't seem to be really that much of a far-fetched pick or pick anymore. Actually, a bit of a ban, because he has seen a little bit of priority, he has seen a little bit more play, and Blade of the Ring King is actually quite effective on him. But I'm definitely expecting an Ivan ban to come through.
I mean, I was in the room with Legacy when they were warming up, and
inside Gas.
I'm just gonna say it's gonna be spicy.
All right, well, with that in mind, I want to get your guys' predictions. But before we do that, let's take a look at tips via opltips.com.au. And my goodness, Legacy, heavy favourites. And I'd say almost half the people think it's going to be a 2-0 by Legacy. So, Minky, you're the people's champion today.
That's 45%. Very smart people. Well done, guys. Just remember, Legacy, we love our fans. We love you.
Who's put you on message? My goodness. All right, let's get some tips from you guys and predictions. Mendrix, what are your thoughts on today?
I actually think that AV have the possibility to take at least one game, but Legacy will come out on top, 2-1 to AV.
All right, well, if AV do take
2-1 to Legacy.
Oh, okay. Right, okay. That should be cool. All right. And Nikki, look, it's no surprise. Obviously, it needs to be a 2-0 to AV.
I'm going to go with the 46%. 2-0 Legacy.
All right. Well, let us know your predictions as well. Your questions, comments, and complaints via hashtag IamOPL on social media. We're showing your tweets throughout the broadcast, but that is enough from us here at the Analyst Desk. It is time to find out if AV can take their revenge against Legacy. So let's hand it over to your OPL casters, Spawn and Fish.
Thank you very much, Max Atlas Anderson. It's great to have you back. Fantastic haircut, by the way. This is Jake Spontoberry. I'm Matthew Stewart, and we're about to go into the first match for the day.
Yeah, we certainly are, and it's going to be an important match because this is really going to show us whether we have a top 3 in the OPL right now or whether we have a top 5, because Sin's been able to do it against Legacy only, but has been inconsistent against the other top squads. However, AV been vastly inconsistent against everyone in the top 3 at the moment. So, make or break game in my opinion.
And this is the first game they lost in the OPL. Week 1, they played against Legacy. Series on your screen there. And they didn't have a very impressive game. In fact, it was only their top laner who looked good from Avant Garde in their first match, but they had a really good streak after the loss against Legacy.
Yeah, they certainly did. I mean, they're 5-3. They're only one best of 3 behind. Of course, have been a little bit more inconsistent in 2-1s, but that's what you expect out of a young team. They only really have Jake, which is the veteran player. Triple, been around for about a year now. Sybil, of course, coming across in recent weeks, but everyone else pretty much rookies versus, you know, having Tally on your team, having Carbon on that team. Even Claire has just been around the O scene for such a long time. Legacy definitely have more of that veteran look to their outfit.
Yeah, so it does feel like Avant Garde kind of gelling very well with their new roster. On the side of Legacy, it was a little bit unfortunate for them because Claire was performing fantastic after their game against the Chiefs, and he's been out of action for 2 weeks now. We'll have to see if that's going to affect his play in this game at all.
Yeah, but it is important to note that Claire's still been, you know, in the gaming house, still been scrimming with the guys when he can, was coming into the OPL studio as well, you know, supporting Choo Choo's in the role. Whilst we're talking about it, you know, best of luck to Choose. He did say that he's retired from competitive plays back at uni. I really like Aaron. I think that he's a great guy and hopefully get to see him play again soon. But for now, that is where his tale ends.
Well, we'll have to see if he ever does come back to the OPL. But for now, in this match, Avant Garde and Legacy have gone through their first round of bans. Ivan, Malzahar, and Lucian, the first 3 bans from Avant Garde. Legacy have decided to take away Shen, as well as Rengar and Caitlyn. We also have Lulu being locked in immediately here for Avant Garde, whereas the side of Legacy looking for Rumble as their first pick of choice.
Yeah, they certainly are, and this is incredibly interesting because Lulu, Rengar, Shen are considered the 3 remaining OPs at the moment, especially in the North American LCS. Lulu being picked up as the free pick, whilst 2 people are falling down in the Shen and the Rengar is quite volatile. In saying that, it might be that we actually get different sides of Summoner's Rift picked up here, because the support versus jungle and top means it pretty polarizing lane so far, Fish.
Yep, certainly. Has been very polarizing so far in Champion Select. Carbon's actually locked in Lee Sin as his jungler of choice heading into this match. A champion that we normally see defaulted to once a heavy amount of junglers are banned out in the OPL.
I mean, buff to buff junglers have been, so junglers that go buff to buff have been incredibly, have been increased in power. I just don't want to use the word buff in like 17 times in a sentence, so I'm trying to think of another way to say it. So it's interesting because, you know, with the Graves falling down a little bit, Rengar being banned away, Ivan being banned away, Lee Sin is one of those junglers that can go red, blue, Gromp, gank, or red, wolves, something like that. So we'll see whether Carbon uses that to get deep vision early, you know, really get into the lanes and try and effect change on the map, because he did say himself that he views Sybil as much more aggressive than Shelby. Shelby much more of a teamfight jungler, whereas Sybil does try and get in there early.
But Sybil has not shown his jungler yet. So far, it's just been a top laner being picked up for Avant Garde. Nautilus has been locked in, and Ezreal being picked up for Blinky. On the side of Legacy, we have Varus being locked in, who, despite his nerfs, has come back into competitive play, but with a different build now, Spawn.
Yeah, generally you see a little bit more of Hurricane Rush, maybe some Blade of the Ruin King mixed in there. You can still go Essence Reaver Hurricane as well if you want to go more crit and have some cooldown reduction. So I think he's definitely still viable, just has been hit a little bit in how you have to play him. Important to note, I think that the Nautilus pick is incredibly strange, because I think Nautilus into Rumble is a horrible matchup for Nautilus. It gets shoved in really early, has to use mana, and it's not like it's a tank versus tank matchup. There is potential for Tally to be able to kill series here, so we'll see how it goes. Incredibly interesting to see if the priority around the top side of the map remains for AV, because they did want to get Sybil access to the red side of the jungle when they were on blue last time and continually try and fight.
Well, let's see if he does get access to the jungle this time round. You know, he is up against a Lee Sin, being picked up by Carbon. The second round of bans have gone through for both these two teams. More jungle bans coming through as Elise is banned out by Legacy. The rest of the bans are going to be mid laners here as Syndra, Jace, and Vladimir are taken off the table.
And I mean, that makes a lot of sense. You're not really going to pinch support past the Lulu at this stage. So I don't think that's really a high priority. You're happy to take Karma or Nami into a Lulu lane at the moment. Braum is interesting, however.
So we have seen Braum picked up by Legacy before, but that's normally paired with their Lucian combo, which has been banned out by Avant Garde.
Braum Lee Sin's a really cool combo late game. I mean, they're able to follow each other through team fights. However, that leaves a little bit of a lack of appeal for Lost, so we'll see whether he is capable enough, which he's shown to be so far, of being able to navigate these team fights on Varus, who's pretty immobile, especially now given the fact there's an assassin in the mid lane.
Ooh, Avant Garde have picked up Ari, a pick that has been a pocket pick for many players in the OPL, but now is rising in popularity. And Avant Garde will be waiting to pick up their jungler of choice for Sybil.
And of course, Jake hovering the dreaded Mundo support that has been plaguing solo queue games everywhere.
Please no.
Please get it out of my game. I'm not a huge fan of it.
Yeah, the first time I got to play with a Mundo spot was with Jake. That game did not go well, Spawn.
How did he go?
He did well. I did not. I did not enjoy being an AD carry in that game. But the final pick coming out from Avant Garde is going to be Kha'Zix, picked up by Sybil heading into the jungle.
And similarly with Shen, Lulu Kha'Zix is really good. You get the speed up whilst you're in stealth as you fly past, get into the backline, get the wild growth, and really become a disruption factor. However, this looks like a very comfortable lineup for Legacy. Maybe the exception of Tally picking up a mage. He's not really known for his mage play. Definitely more of an AD carry top laner or a bruiser player at the moment. Even has branched out into tanks, but Tally's a good versatile player, so I think across the board, they're looking pretty good.
They certainly are, and Claire has picked up where he left off, taking Victor onto the Rift for his first match back in the OPL against Triple.
And of course, we're going to see some Game of Thrones action out of Legacy as well. We're going to have the Braum ultimate over the top of the Rumble ultimate, a little bit of Song of Ice and Fire going down there, Fish, which is the actual name of the first book. Get rid of this Game of Thrones. Sorry, actually the name of the series, as opposed to Game of Thrones. But at the same time, I talk about it a lot in the OPL. Having a tank is very underrated. Increases ease of play, allows you to get into team fights front to back very well, allows you to set up 1-4. So I do think there is still merit to AV's comp, but Legacy's comp just looks like it has such incredibly potent lanes.
Yeah, definitely looks like Legacy have picked up very comfortable picks. Like you said, maybe not Tally in the top lane, but for the side of Avant Garde, a very aggressive team comp locked in for them today.
Yeah, it certainly was, and I'm hoping that we see a better showing than what we saw out of AV last week against Abyss, just because that was a little bit disappointing. Abyss did look like they showed up to play in game number 2, plus they had Pabu, which was a little bit of a wild card factor. I mean, Series wouldn't have played against someone that incredibly aggressive, but it should hold him in good stead for today's game, because Tally plays a very similar style, a little bit more polished than Pabu.
Yep.
And across the board, I mean, Legacy are a good unit at the moment. I want to see if they can really take it to AV and prove that that top 3 still has gaps.
Yep, Legacy so far only been dropping games to Sin, I believe. So hopefully be able to pick up the win here today for Legacy. But Avant Garde, as Jake kind of figured out today, still have a chance to pick up third in the OPL here, Spawn, and a 2-0 will put them well and truly close to achieving that goal.
I mean, there's always a hope, if only a fool's hope, Fish. And I think that, you know, AV have to keep their eye on that, because a third place finish would definitely increase their chances of making a Gauntlet run.
Yeah, maybe they can find the force and become one with it as they find a new hope. For now, though, let's check in with one of the coaches who's standing by with Hingers.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Pinch, and both Sona and Mundo, they're hovered. Does that like make your heart skip a beat as the coach, or?
Not really. I mean, Mundo support is actually kind of okay on this patch. Jake's been playing a little bit, trolling around in solo queue, so just a fun hover. Doesn't really mean anything.
Speaking of 7.5, you're picking up Ez today in the AD position. Do you think that he's been viable the whole time, or is it only just this patch?
Well, in this draft specifically, like Caitlyn was banned, we banned Lucian, so Ezreal automatically moves up in the tier list. We think Varus is okay at the moment if you build Blade of the Ring King, but Ezreal does fine against him. So
Excellent stuff. All right, well, we should get into the game, so thank you for speaking to us, and best of luck.
thanks so much.
Yeah, Tally's having a great time, Spawn.
Certainly is. Just getting a little bit of a spam going on there. Interesting to see that the pick order seems to be the fact that it's Lucian, Caitlyn, then Ezreal. Of course, throw Varus in there wherever you want. I believe the only person that we've seen play Bork Varus so far is going to be Blinky. So interesting to see if Lost picks that one up. Oof, that's a lot of damage early.
Might actually get stunned up here. Lost decides not to go for that final auto attack, but still good trades in the bottom lane for Legacy as we kick off this match. We've already seen Carbon starting at his Raptor camp with the help of Tally. And we also have a tweet coming in here from Ivy Valentine LOL. I like my OPL matches like I like my winters. Dark, harsh, and unforgiving. Hashtag I am OPL.
I don't even know what that means. Sounds scary.
It definitely does. Well, let's see if we do get an unforgiving match here today, Spawn. And Legacy against Vanguard, as I was talking about. Carb starting on Raptors, so cleared his red buff. Now moving towards the bottom side of the jungle. Kha'Zix doing the exact same thing heading into this match.
Yeah, it certainly is. Interesting to see that they are pretty much jungling equal pace, although Carbon arguably slightly ahead. It's going to be one of those games where Carbon really does need to keep tabs on Sybil, however, because Sybil is one of those junglers that if he ever gets ahead, does like to continue to force. And I know that in the past, Carbon has fallen behind in early games and had to make it up with creative pathing as they continue aggressive into this bottom lane.
That's an Ignite being used onto Jake there, forcing the Arcane's shift out of Blinky as well. Lost and Cupcake, they're very aggressive when they pick up Braum as their support in the bottom lane.
Yeah, they certainly are, but they both burnt, they burnt a summoner spell each there just versus Jake's flash. And he still has potions ticking over. And the thing about a Lulu lane is you're always ranged. You're going to be able to continue to be able to shield. You also have the Whimsy that you max at the moment for the increased polymorph as well as the movement speed. Carbon, however, wants to get over this wall.
He's going to get behind them, and there are no wards to stop this. Jake and Blinky are playing a little bit back, but there is no flash.
He missed it.
He missed his smack, but he might still get the stun to Jake. That's a flash 4 from Carbon. They will be able to lock down Jake. There's some arrow coming through for Lost. Picks up first blood in the bottom lane, and Blinky will take some trade damage as well. Might actually go down, forced to flash out. His heal was already used, and Legacy's bottom lane ripping through Avant.
Yeah, that was actually really bad out of Blinky. He should have just taken that Lost trade, waited under his turret because the minion wave was coming back towards him, Fish. Now all of a sudden he's going to have a big wave that crashes, so not only does Lost get first blood, it's going to be about a 10 CS advantage for the Legacy bottom lane. And once again, Carbon gets down there early and makes something happen.
And this is crucial for Legacy, especially since in the first few weeks we saw Vanguard's bottom lane. Blinky and Jake, they look fantastic, but they have been a little bit shaky in their past few games.
Yeah, they certainly have. I mean, I would never have considered them like an awesome lane. They're really good at working together during team fights, I think. But you're right. In the last couple of weeks, they've been killed a couple of times. I think going back to when they played against the Squidgy lane was when the troubles really started to take off in the early game. But it's going to be one of those interesting affairs now because 700 gold just based off a bottom lane advantage is a steep amount to climb back from at only 4 minutes in.
It is. Lost is about 10 CS ahead of Blinky, especially when he gets back into the lane. Then you can already see Cole being picked up by Blinky nice and early. No tier for this Ezreal, so will take some time for him to scale back up. Meanwhile, we can see trades going in the favor of Tally up in the top lane. Series has taken grasp of the Undying heading into this match. Does want to kind of trade effectively as possible against Rumble.
I mean, you just don't really trade effectively against Rumble. That's the harsh reality. He has a shield, slows as you have to get yourself back out, as well as that consistent damage that comes across. So I think that this is one of those lanes that if Series can just continue to CS the way he is, he'll count that as a victory. No real way to push Rumble out without a gank, and that hasn't come early enough. Level 6 will be achieved quite soon, and then the pain really begins. Huge CS advantage right now in the bottom lane, as you kept mentioning. But I want to talk about the cull. Right now, because you kind of rush Manamune anyway, not getting tier on the first back isn't the end of the world. There was a time when you were going tier into Trinity Force that if you just weren't stacking it quickly enough, it was going to leave you behind for a very long time. Right now, that doesn't seem to be what actually happens. So it'll be interesting to see whether they can battle their way back in.
And Blinky is a great Ezreal player, especially when he decides not to pick up Deathfire Touch as his Keystone Mastery.
Oh, Carbon used Q.
So Sybil will be able to spot him out, get some isolated damage. Carbon's already at half health and forced to ward jump out of that fight.
We'll see whether they fight this, however, because they have still got vision on Sybil, and they are quick to rotate here.
I'm just noticing that then. Jake has picked up Thunderlords on his Lulu heading into the bottom lane. So deciding not to go for the Windspeaker's Blessing, which we see coming out from Lulu's a little bit more, but Thunderlords instead for some lane priority.
I wonder if that is because the W max, you know, not getting the extra shields all that early, and the fact that he's against a melee. So, you know, going to be able to harass with Pix. Pix throws in a couple of auto attacks herself, makes it really easy to proc. So could potentially be, as you said, for lane priority. Also could just be the fact that they acknowledge they have to win this lane early.
And unfortunately, it seems like we have a pause here. Hopefully we will be able to get back into the game as soon as possible. But for now, it's slightly in Legacy's favor. They've got a pushing top lane. Mid lane seems very even between the two teams. Carbon's been all over the map. Sybil trying to do whatever he can reactively, but the real focus right now is in that bottom lane.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's going to be interesting to see if they continue to play around it, because when you have Nautilus, you always have to mention the ward that goes over to the back of the turret and see whether they go for the turret dive. Ahri should be able to duck into Fog of War a little bit easier than Victor, although if Victor beats you to a spot, he generally blows you up because he has a lot of up-front burst damage. So there are still ways for AV to try and pick on the Varus in this game. I was surprised that they weren't able to get Sybil down there earlier. Seems the fact that the Varus actually flashed forward aggressively, unsuccessfully. But Carbon got down there first and were able to get the advantage.
I am very excited for the first team fight, though, because these two teams have very different dynamics when it comes to team fights. It almost seems like Legacy have a lot of area control and a lot of damage that comes from AoE abilities, whereas Avant Garde a huge amount of single target burst.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's what it's always going to be about. When you have an Ezreal, what you want to be able to do is isolate one key member, whether that's a Lee Sin, the mid laner, even the Rumble, blow them up. And then Ezreal is just so good at navigating fights and putting out consistent damage that you don't really have to continue to dive forward. You can just harass from range, continue the skirts of the fight. Then when they're chipped down, you look for your moment, you re-engage again with your Nautilus and your Ahri. So it's going to be more of a war of attrition coming out of the Avant Garde lineup. And it's definitely going to be those layering of key ultimates, the Braum ultimate, the Rumble ultimate, as well as that Victor, with all the CC that's going to come out of the Varus as well as the Lee Sin that will set Legacy up for success.
And we're still in this pause right now between Legacy and Avant Garde. It's the first match here today, Spawn. This was the first, one of the first games we saw during week 1 of the OPL. And Legacy looked fantastic in that match. I think the only thing Avant Garde could take away from that first game was the fact that Series was able to solo kill Tally a couple of times. Other than that, it was a disaster of a game.
Yeah, it certainly was. And I mean, in game 2, Legacy were even willing to go back to their gangplank and picks like that to really flex their muscles on AV, I think it's fair to say. I think Cupcake was running around on things like Brand and Zyra in that series as well and looking very fearsome. We've seen a lot of discipline instilled into Legacy, and their drafts have definitely tightened up in the last few weeks as they get towards a gauntlet run. Carbon definitely is a huge fan of keeping his team fresh for that. But the early game looks good. I mean, Carbon gone from a big pathing jungler to early pressure on the Lee Sin, and was able to make it work.
And one thing you mentioned just then is the drafts have been tightened up for Legacy. They've had some unique strategies as well. Lucian Braum was really interesting when they brought it out into the OPL. But that's really coming from their coaches as well. They have Soul Strikes behind them. And you look at this at Avant Garde, they have Pinch standing behind them doing their pick and ban phase. So these two teams really stepping up their staffing as well by picking up these two strong coaches.
Yeah, definitely agree. And Pinch, we've had a couple of criticisms about him picking his team into early game deficits. I don't know whether he's really done that this game. Kha'Zix and Ahri have very strong early game.
They do.
So we'll see whether they are able to make that work on the side of Triple and Sybil. Whilst Soul Strikes has been very vocal that he thinks he's a good drafter, he said he mucked up a couple the other week. I think that he was just trying to take some of the shared responsibility versus Sin, because his drafts did look pretty solid. And at the same time, this is going to be one of those games that I think the teams both have very clear win conditions, and the players have to sort it out.
For now, it is in Legacy's favor, as we're still waiting for this pause to be resolved here. That's Triple on your screen. He's picked up Ahri heading to this match, which was a very common comfort pick for a lot of OPL mid laners, but has been rising in popularity recently. A very strong assassin in the mid lane.
Yeah, I think Ahri's great at the moment, actually. I think that she has really good wave clear as far as assassins go, and then the pick potential is always there. Vision control, I talk about a lot with Ahri comps, because if you can get a couple of points into the charm early and isolate people as they're roaming through river, she generally can chase them down solo. So we'll see whether they have that ability to control the lake, get the pink wards out that they need to, and then be able to really focus down in that mid game.
He is against Claire, though, in the mid lane, who has picked up Victor. Very, very strong control mage, and he also played that champion right before. Unfortunately, he had a ban, and now is back. Suspension, sorry. And now he's back in the OPL. Glad that we'll be able to see him play today, but unfortunately we have not been able to resolve this pause so far, so we are going to go into a 10-minute break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more action in just a bit.
This is solo queue, so everyone make mistakes. But mistakes are opportunities. Like this. My top laner get ganked and died, so there's no KO. Hikarim wants to shove lane, more pressure, more gold, good for him. I already grabbed raids, so I know if they can see me or not. So I go top and get the wave. Turrets don't need gold, you know. I join lane and Hikarim backed up. That's smart. I get the farm and I go back to do my job. Then Hikarim gets greedy for one more wave. Like I said, everyone made mistakes and Hikarim is gonna die for this one. It's solo queue, so Kha'Zix is probably not here. So I come back, I chase him down. I have Ghost, I have Q, I have ult. That makes it easy. I get the kill, I shove lane. Kill's alive again, and she can see that her lane is good, and she also got TP. She looks around the map. She saw a good opportunity on bot. 3v2, easy kill, or dragon, whatever. And all that started with KO overextending and dying. Mistakes are opportunities, you know.
I told you this was a bad deal, man! Shut up and move! Which way? Over here! On your mark! I see it! I see it! We're almost there, man! Let's go! I'm sorry! Come on! Daisy!
Welcome back to the OPL. If you're just joining us, we are coming out of a 10-minute break because of a pause. My name is Michael Hingersing, and joining me here at the desk before we get back into that game is Minky Whale and also Mendrix. And not a lot we know about why there's a pause right now, guys, but what can we say about the pick ban so far? Minky?
I mean, like, we have a good early game comp as well, and we're looking to, you know, pretty much take it out early and clean them up before anything bad happens.
Yeah, Legacy do have a lot of lane priority, and I do like how they've managed to pick up the Victor as well, just as a little bit of insurance towards that late game if things do go a little bit awry towards that mid stages of the game. But when I look at the AV team composition, it just seems to scream dive to me. You get Courage of the Colossus and the Nautilus. You have the Lulu to prop him up to give him that extra bit of a shield. And it also adds to the fact that you got Kha'Zix as well to sort of jump in there. So really there could be that. The other aspect it could be is that it's also a nice strong pick composition as well. It means it allows you do have the Dredge line, you do have the Ari Charm. So if they do fall behind and they can't dive, they have the option to sort of default to that.
Meanwhile, Legacy, we've talked before about how they have winning lanes, and we were talking earlier about whether or not those winning lanes are due to just like skill or whether or not these are lane bullies. Minky, when you look at the Legacy draft, I mean, what are you guys trying to achieve there?
I mean, obviously, it's definitely both here. We have 3 winning matchups and 3 winning lanes. Carbon in the jungle with Lee Sin, a much stronger early game jungler than Kha'Zix. So we're just trying to push him out, take objectives, win the game through macro afterwards.
And speaking of early game, that first blood Mendrix, I mean, was that a mistake by one team, or was it just another team just playing well? How do you view the first blood?
I feel comes down to, Legacy playing really well. Carbon got it off to a great start. He was able to move towards, had decent pathing, and then also there was really aggressiveness, or a lot of aggressiveness from that bot lane from Legacy. They were able to jump in, force a few summoners. They did use a bit more themselves, but once they had chunked them out, that really helped them facilitate the dive afterwards. And really the big thing I wanted to take out, Nautilus actually had grasp there, so I just wanted to say it is a bit different. He's actually looking for a bit more lane priority with that.
Yeah, I mean, Legacy identified that, AV is obviously, their bot lane is the weakest, and bam, ganked it, killed him.
Well, speaking of that bot lane, I mean, Varus Braum isn't a combo we've seen before out of a Legacy, I don't think. Usually it's that Lucian Braum. Lucian's been banned out, so they pick up Varus, who has lost a lot of priority lately, but in 7.5 Mendrix, in the upcoming patch of 7.6, he might be coming back a little bit.
Yeah, it just seems you need to change him around a little bit. Rather than going towards that lethality build, you do go for a bit more of a attack speed build, using the Blade of the Ruined King to sort of facilitate that a bit better. And he's still effective. He is a great tank buster as well, so that allows you to sort of chew through anyone who's a bit more chunkier on the field.
Minky, finally, good start, but can Legacy throw it all away? I mean, who knows?
Throw it all away. That's no, definitely not. We have so much CC. We have perfect comp.
All right, let's go from us and back into the game. So let's throw it to you casters, Spawn and Fish.
Thank you very much, Hingers. We are back, and we're about to get back into this game. I believe that was a very quick throw coming out from Michael Hinsing there. Mistook him from Atlas. I'm very sorry about that. It's the new haircut, Spawn. It's been gone for so long, and now it's back.
It certainly is. A nice bird of prey resting in the hostess. But we are back into game, and it looks like everything has been resolved for the teams. So once again, just to recap, First Blood went over to Legacy. That's where the gold advantage has come from, and a little bit of a CS lead. Apart from that, everything looks pretty even on Summoner's Rift Fish.
It certainly is, but Legacy always work well when they have a very early gold lead, and it is in the bottom lane, which has been the best performing lane, I assume, right now for Legacy. Lost and Cupcake look fantastic in their first split in the OPL together as a duo. Cupcake coming in as a rookie this split. Lost has played a split himself, and he was a very hyped up AD carry, now really stepping up to the plate this year on his new squad. Blinky and Jake, though, they've been able to pick up their tiers so far in the bottom lane, but still struggling a little bit in CS.
Yeah, they certainly are. You could see what Cupcake was doing there was he was letting the minions auto attacks go in, but blocking away any... Oh, bit of a gank top lane, however.
Yeah, here comes Sybil. Tally decided to go aggressive against Series. That's a lot of burst damage going down. He will pop the ultimate, but does absolutely nothing. Avant Garde tie it back up 1-1.
Yeah, and this is a watered dragon, so they can potentially try and contest this if they want. Otherwise, it looks like right now they're just content to look for potentially a steal with the Ezreal ult, which means it's going to be Infernal over for Legacy.
Yeah, will be Cupcake that picks up the kill onto the Infernal Dragon. Blinky tried his absolute best to try and steal that one away.
126 health, pretty close.
You're right. It was a trade, just a kill in the top lane for the Dragon pickup. That's commonly what we see when the junglers go towards the top side of the map.
Oh, Blinky's actually been caught here, Fish.
Gonna get locked down and kicked back into the team. Lost gets a nice and easy kill. You can see Blinky already taking a sip of his water there. He knew exactly what was up as soon as that Lee Sin came into the lane.
Yeah, and he was actually sped forward, so not saving that for anything else. Which is a little bit of a mistake out of Jake as well, you would have to say. Claire keeping Triple away, so we'll see how it keeps going.
For now, though, Claire and Triple, just toss it back and forth, but there's a deep teleport into the bottom lanes, though, as Legacy are pushing on towards an outer turret. Here comes Nautilus, locks down Lost, Carbon as well as Cupcake jumping in, but that's a wild growth onto all the already this huge Nautilus. Carbon will be the first to fall. Triple dashes into the bottom lane, and Avant-Garde take down 3 members of Legacy.
That's actually a fantastic teleport play. Equalizes the game, potentially can push for the first turret here, although there are 2 members strong also pushing out that mid lane fish. See who can get the race first. Maybe even a little bit of a fight as the Ezreal is here with the Ahri.
Triple looks for a charm, but lands onto a minion there, and Avant-Garde will be able to pick up the first turret of the game. This all stems from that gank top lane. Tally was forced to teleport back into his lane. Sirius can walk back up and got an immediate gank bottom lane as soon as Blinky arrived in his lane.
I mean, I don't even really think that Tally teleporting was what solved it. It was him burning the ultimate, because even if he had followed, he would have just been a Rumble with a Flame Spitter at this stage of the game versus a Nautilus that was able to get in there with all the inherent CC built into his kit. You can see now the lane rotation does come out of AV as they pick up a 600 gold lead. So nice proactive play. Although Blinky needs to be careful in this lane, so because he is half health and very far behind, actually. He's about 30 CS.
He's gone for Ionian Boots of Lucidity as his first item pickup before completing his tier here spawn. It is a very common boot to pick up as
I mean, he has a tier.
Oh, yeah, that's right. before upgrading his tier, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, one is 600 gold, the other one is like 875 for the first component. I think it was just a bad back timing coming out of Blinky. Of course, it wasn't even really a back, it was just he was dead and had to buy something. So I can understand the pickup. Is a little bit unfortunate. Generally, when that happens, you see people go for like maybe longsword, because eventually you do have to build into a Trinity Force, you would assume. Is it now Series under a little bit of fire?
Lost and Cupcake will take some of the remaining Raptors. That's an ultimate coming out from Lost.
Bad dive.
Another ultimate coming out from Cupcake and a kickback from Carbon. Cupcake will tank up the turret. He might actually die to this. He's dead. That will be a 1-for-1 trade in the bottom lane. And Triple's going aggressive against Claire, trying to welcome him back into the OPL here. But Claire's not going to go down without a fight. It still will be the Ahri that picks up the kill.
Yeah, that's actually a big over-investment into killing a tank at this stage of the game. So much magic damage actually comes out of Varus. Remember, all of the percentage health that is on the proc of the W is magic damage. And you can see that it just took so long to kill him. And in the end, it meant that he traded 1-for-1 and defended the turret. Tally backing on a ward here.
Yep, will be jumped
in
on
comes
by
Lulu
Sybil.
as well.
Jake's going to get in with the Wild Growth. That's a big Kha'Zix, and Jake will take the kill for himself as well.
Yeah, really nicely done out of Sybil and Jake. You can see that this combo is starting to work out great. I said that Lulu plus Kha'Zix and Nautilus is really good initiation tools, and you can see that Legacy have actually swapped the lanes back and now no longer want anything to do with the lane swap.
Lost has been able to pick up his Blade of the Ruined King as his first item. Legacy are 7-3 down in kills, but do have an Infernal Dragon, but they're still about only 600 gold behind Avant-Garde at this point.
Yeah, and I don't really think the Infernal means all that much, because late game I just favor the Avant-Garde comp. So we'll see if that is going to be the case. Unless they get like 2 or 3 of those dragons, one Infernal does not make up all that much of comp differences. Victor is going to be the main beneficiary of that one. But we'll see how this one continues to roll out, because right now Legacy is just trying to one more time pick on the Jake Blinky lane with Cupcake and Lost.
Yeah. Carbon's not going to connect with his Sonic Wave, so can't get the jump on towards Jake. Cupcake and Lost were standing nearby in case they needed to follow up. In this mid lane, though, Series is trying to rotate right behind the turrets and try to lock down Claire for triple. Tally also making his way over. Sybil is in the area, but he's just going to take Wolves instead.
Yeah, but Sybil doesn't want to let him get anything for free right now. You can see that Tally's had to pull it so far around the corner, it actually had a reset. So instead, they're just trading halves of the map. The Lulu Ezreal need to be careful until the Lulu ult is back available.
And it seems like Legacy are trying to take blue buff away from Avant-Garde here, which will respawn. Cupcake jumps over the wall to get back to Lost, who will continue to shove out this top lane.
I mean, at the same time, blue buff has already been stolen away from Avant-Garde. So Kha'Zix was able to pick that one up, and he's going to take the complete bottom side of the jungle. So once again, they're just splitting the map in half. This is what we see generally when you have a winning top side. 3-0-2 Kha'Zix is going to help the solo lanes out a lot. And actually looking for a gank in the mid lane, although well spotted by Claire. Reads that one.
Tally's been farming the jungle for quite some time here. A series has yet to push out past the river. only now returning back into the bottom lane. Both top laners have their teleports available for a cross-map play if they are required. Blinky and Jake are still trying to hold on to this turret as much as they can. Cupcake with a great Unbreakable will stop the ultimate coming out from the Ezreal, which means Legacy should be able to break this top lane turret.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to push for it. However, members from AV ducking into Fog of War, so you can see they actually back away. And in fact, look like they might be looking for another dive onto Claire in the mid lane. They've brought the Nautilus down one more time. Instead, they will all just back away. So toing and froing, I think it's fair to say. Kills in the favor of AV. CS greatly in the favor of Legacy at the moment. Oh, that was a close one.
Yep, Series looking for another gank in the mid lane against Claire. Triple has had the luxury of pushing out against the Victor. Now 3 members strong, Avant Garde will get some decent damage onto this lane, but top side of the map will be a fight from the bottom lane duos. There's a flash away from Lulu as well as the Wild Growth, and teleport is forced to be cancelled here by Series.
Yeah, but they protect the turret. They take down mid lane, which is one of the highest priority targets, especially against a Victor composition, and they're going to be able to 2-for-1 this with a Dragon. So as long as the duo lane top back away from this turret and let it fall down, this is still in AV's favor.
Legacy will be able to take down the top lane outer turret. In response, Carbon shows himself up at the top side of the map. But, as you mentioned, Avant Garde move towards the Mountain Dragon. They take that for free.
Yeah, exactly right. And now we see that this divided map has meant that big advantages coming out for Sybil. However, at the same time, Lost is 60 CS up, which is just absolutely monstrous at this stage of the game. You can see that Blinky's still running around on components, hasn't really finished anything. And Lost is on the way to finish item number 2.
But because of the way Avant Garde have played as a team so far, especially with Sybil being so far ahead in the jungle, gold's dead even spawn. 27,800 gold for both these two teams.
Yeah, however, even though Sybil's ahead, you have to look at the fact that is going for a squishy route. And whilst you have a Lulu and things like that to keep you healthy, Carbon going to be able to pick up some tank stats. And as long as he gets his key member, be it, you know, someone like a Sybil, or maybe even kicking Triple into the team, they're going to be able to output so much damage at this stage. Because no one can really go toe-to-toe with that man on your screen.
We do have a couple of other items being picked up by both teams. Leandri's Torment is the first item for Tally. He went for Mercury Threads first. We have the standard mid lane items for both Ari as well as Claire being picked up for now. Blinky, though, deciding not to upgrade the Manamune as soon as possible. Gets the Sheen first, but does have a pickaxe, so we should see Manamune upgraded shortly.
Yeah, quite soon. Another flash here.
Oh, Carbon just flashing behind the Lulu and doesn't get the kickoff.
Yeah, actually mistimed that one, so we'll see if that continues. Of course, it's really hard to kick Lulu just because of Polymorph, but it looks like they want to potentially fight.
Yeah, Ari's gone to the back, but Claire hiding in the shadows, already taken down Blinky, chasing on towards Jake as well. Even Sybil's been in this fight. That's a flash forward from Lost, and Legacy pick up 4 kills just like that.
Yeah, what a clean play. They just leave Claire in that brush, and he blows up 2 members solo. Victor at this stage of the game with a perfect Hex Core has so much surprising burst damage, and that will lead to another turret. This is going to be a 3,000 gold advantage fish, and it doesn't look like they're done. They're going to continue to push through.
And this was off of a mistake from Carbon. Legacy still react accordingly, looking for the mid lane inner turret. You said the mid lane outer is the most important. If you get 2 in a row, that's even better here for Legacy.
Yeah, it certainly is. Now they can just play the side lanes, which is so crucial. They have wave clears for days. And that was a mistake there. Carbon didn't get the kickoff in time. However, they had so much vision around the area, and AV wanted to fight them back. You can see it's actually a ghost from Claire that gets him there maybe sooner than you would have expected, and drops a Chaos Storm on 2. And 1 round of spells absolutely deletes the duo lane, which just means that the top side of the map was a 3v2 because they were expecting reinforcements, and the reinforcements just never arrived.
Nope. Jake did not even have time to put Wild Growth onto Blinky. That's how fast Claire was able to obliterate him in that bottom lane. Very smart play from Claire. And again, despite his 2-week suspension, he has come back onto the Rift nice and strong.
Yeah, it's certainly looking good. I mean, he's going for a second item, Ludens, as well, to just help out with the burst damage even more. 5-1-1, 60 CS for Lost. He's an impressive AD carry when he gets rolling. Has been set up by Carbon a lot this game. I mean, Carbon's pretty much camped his lane out.
But I mean, if there's one person you really want to set up, it is going to be Lost, because when he gets the ball rolling, we've seen what he can do. Legacy again chasing towards Avant Garde members on the top side of the map. Carbon looking to see if he can get a kick going. Tags Blinky with Sonic Wave. Resonating Strike goes through. Kicks Jake away, unfortunately, but that does force the flash. And Legacy are looking for
Potentially a bad fight.
full-blown fight. Breaks out. Series will fall. Stands on top of the equalizer. Jake down to no health. Blinky will be the next one to go down. Legacy, Blinky health bars across the board. Has triple dashes on in. Tries to get out. Stunned up by the Braum. And that's a double kill for Lost.
Yeah, I actually think if they were more patient and Sybil didn't completely disengage from that fight, there was a potential for AV to pick it up. However, Legacy stay as a unit, and we already said this. They have all of the AoE spells. If AV can't kite it out, the AoE will just take over, and you saw the Equalizer, you saw the Braum ultimate, all come down in a row. And that just means that another huge teamfight victory, and now it's 6,000 gold.
And after a back and forth early game, Legacy, like you said, taking a 6,000 gold lead here in the match. You can see Locker the Iron Solari even being picked up by Carbon. He knows that right now, he's a utility jungler. Just wants to make sure his team stays alive.
Yeah, another bad kick out of Carbon. However, this time it splits them up, so still does a job.
Does get a flash out of it as well.
Yeah, even if it wasn't the one that he was looking for. And this is really interesting because the jungle has been really back and forth. I mean, Carbon 0, 1, and 8 has been involved in 80% of the kills. Can't overstate that. A lot of the action has happened around him. Probably the only 2 kills he weren't a part of were the 2 that Claire pretty much picked up solo. And you can see that now with all the tank stats coming out of Carbon as well as Cupcake, the assassinations potential that was available for Triple, that was available for Sybil, now no longer really the case.
And we haven't seen much of Triple in this game. I mean, he is a staple solid mid laner for Avant Garde and has had moments where he's popped off and done incredibly well, but he's just been in the shadows this entire game. We haven't seen so much action from him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we haven't seen really all that much from either mid laner. We've seen one good play out of Claire. We also saw him group up just then and run the team down. But yeah, definitely mid lane hasn't been really played around this time. Although now with the whole team coming behind, might be the case.
Trying to tag Jay. Carbon gets it and follows through with the flash. Triple, though, waiting in the shadows. Will be able to get some good damage on towards Carbon. Wild Growth will keep him alive, and they take down the mid lane again. Sybil stuck on the slow field, as well as the stun coming out from Braum. And even a teleport being used by Legacy's Tally means they're going to move straight towards the Baron buff.
Yeah, and because they have Equalizer still available, there is a potential to do this. Cupcake is very tanky at this stage of the game, so he should be able to keep them alive, no problem. He jumps in there and tanks this one up. And it's very hard to approach with only 3 members left when Equalizer's still here. In fact, Redemption for good measure, and that's going to be a 22-minute Baron for Legacy. 8,000, 9,000-ish gold in the lead. This game is going to be incredibly difficult for AV to climb back in.
You can see even Blinky is just waiting for minion waves to crash. He does not want to be anywhere near Legacy without his teammates backing him up.
I mean, Blinky's next to useless for he has 1.5 items and a completed cull, whereas on the other side of the rift, you have 3 fully completed operational items for Lost. Lost is so far ahead of Blinky, 9, 1, and 1, that it really is not even fair to compare them as laners anymore.
No, definitely not. Legacy are going to take even more objectives for themselves as Cloud Dragon's next. Just getting that one off the rift before they continue their push. Only one inner turret is left in their way before getting towards the Avant Garde base, which is going to be in the bottom lane. Already Claire's pushing that one out for his team. He's taken Barrier onto the rift this game. And he summoned a spell that we've seen coming back into the mid lane since Exhaust has been nerfed slightly.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's one of the best ways to survive against assassinations. You can argue for Cleanse against Ahri just because the charm is such a pain. But you can see this, they can't even defend.
Yeah, Triple's going to get kicked back into the team, immediately taken down by Claire. They turn their attention towards the bottom lane inner turret, and Legacy will continue their push.
Yeah, another kick. This one just sends him sideways. That's all the wave clear gone, by the way, so good luck defending this one.
There's the equalizer being put down for good measure by Tally, and Legacy brute force their way to the turret. The Rumble will tank it up and take half his health in damage. Claire forces Blinky out of the fight with a single laser.
I mean, he had ulti, probably could have got him.
Oh,
and goes, what?
Sybil, jump, gets a kill. Will now be able to hop away, but Legacy are barreling down. They want revenge for their captain. They have to avenge big old Daddy Carbon. But Sybil will slowly slip away.
I mean, they are pretty quick here. They have an Air Drake, they have the Moby Boots as well. But it looks like the Cockroach, what is Kha'Zix? Will be able to slink back into the shadows. They also clear out bottom side of the jungle. You can see level 15 or level 13 right now between mid laners. And really, Sybil is the last hope, shining light, I guess, for the AV lineup, who are now firmly 10,000 gold behind. Ever since Legacy just made those mid-game plays, which we've seen them make so often, this game exploded open.
And it's something that Mendrix touched on the desk today, saying that, you know, Legacy, they've always had great mid-game, great late game. It's just early game where they faltered. Avant kind of showed that in the early game here today. We're able to keep it very even, trading back and forth, at times getting huge advantages. And it might come back down to the fact that Avant don't really draft for the early game as well, although like you mentioned, Pinch has done a decent job here.
Yeah, and I mean, we also expect really good things out of the late game of AV, but it was really the mid game that was exposed. They were able to match loss to Blinky. They didn't hide Blinky well enough on the side of the AV lineup. Triple, as we keep mentioning, wasn't able to free himself up in that mid lane, even after he knocked the turret down. And that one bad team fight around Vision, which Legacy has controlled to much greater effect than AV, is what hurt them. So now what we have is, you know, pushing bottom lane naturally, and you're going to be sending a 2-item Nautilus to try and deal with it versus all this raw power on the top side of the map. It's going to be very hard to win anything. You can see that Cupcake doesn't even get scratched right now by Triple.
We do have Blinky's Trinity Force being completed, but still doesn't do too much against Baron Up minions. Charm connects onto Carbon, but they back out, immediately pull the trigger onto Triple. He will fall. Carbon gets that kill, and Legacy again brute forcing their way into the Avant base. Lost was taking up the turret that time, but Legacy just do not care.
Yeah, they don't care at all. I mean, no one can go near Claire because he's just going to blow them up. They still have Redemption available. There you go. Everyone top back off. Second part of the base broken. Super Creep's already on the bottom lane, and they're just going to look to rotate this one through mid and clean it up tutorial style.
Yep, seems like Legacy want to take down every single structure before going for the Nexus. 15 seconds until Triple comes back up here. Legacy again move into the base. Flash forward coming out from Jake. Will get him back to safety. Carbon taking up the turret. Nautilus has already used his ultimate trying to separate Legacy, but does nothing. Redemption will keep them alive a little bit longer, and they will defend the turret for now, but Blinky getting poked out by every single ability by Legacy. That might force them to back away, though.
Yeah, and we haven't even seen Claire's ultimate in the last couple of fights. I mean, he is so accelerated at this stage of the game that if he drops that, I feel like he just, like, deletes him off the map permanently. You can see that they're back to the turret, going to push this one through, and there's really nothing you can do right now. Cupcake is so good on Brawl.
Yep, puts up the shield at the perfect time. There's an engage coming out from Avant though. Triple will dash on forward. Here comes Karzik. Sybil trying to assassinate Cupcake. He will be able to dash away, gets away from the abilities coming out from Triple. Blinky trying to dash on forward, misses the Mystic shot there. Avant were looking for a desperate pick. They can't get it against Legacy.
I mean, and that was the best case scenario. Now Legacy go back and they just spend all that gold and they roll it down mid one more time. Baron's available in 2 minutes. You've got a Dragon up in a minute and a half. And whoa, you look at the gold deficits. That's 4,000 just between the 80 carries.
In the mid lane, another 3,000 going in favor of Claire. It's only really in the jungle where it's fairly even right now. And that's just because Sybil has been the only member in Avant that's performed exceptionally well in this game so far.
I mean, he did get really hard out jungled from Carbon. The reason, I'll go back to it, the reason the bottom lane is in such a hole is because Carbon just set up the luxury hotel and got as much work done as possible. I mean, he camped the heck out of Jake and Blinky. And you can see that it paid off. I mean, there's nothing wrong with trying to get the Superstar 80 carry ahead, especially if he can perform the way Lost does.
Yeah, it seems like they didn't check TripAdvisor before coming into this game. Carbon's 5-star resort is up and ready. Legacy, though, will continue to push for this mid lane inhibitor turret. Carbon's already picked up an elixir potion for himself. That's a very big Muay Thai fighter looking to try and jump into the back lines. Legacy are trying to take it a little bit slower now without their Baron buff.
And now all Carbon's really thinking about, apart from winning the game, is I want to get a good kick. Because I've had so many poor kicks this game, which is give me the one perfect kick, and he will consider this nearly as good as the perfect win they're able to pick up. Because AV's quality opponent, I mean, they're sitting currently 4th on the ladder. Arguments to be made whether they're better than Sin. We'll probably see that in the first round of the Gauntlet.
Ulti being thrown out by Lost, doesn't connect, and Triple decides it's time for him to go in. Engage coming out from Avant. Equalizer will come through and force Avant to back off towards the left side of the turret. Turret will fall, and Avant still pushing on through. Redemption will be going down. Claire still waiting for the right time to go in. He's going to now jump into the fight, still yet to use his ultimate, but the rest of Legacy are piling on through. Sid will be forced to back away. Tally will burn the Lulu alive, and only Series and Sybil left up as Legacy are able to win the team fight, and they push towards the Nexus here, Spawn. That first turret is going to be able to fall. Legacy pushing for the second. They've done it again, just like in week 1. They're able to take down Avant in game 1.
I mean, you can tell that they're here for business only this week. They're here to pick up the quick 2-0. They want the 3 points. They want Direwolves and Chiefs to rip themselves apart in game number 2. They want to be able to swoop in and be able to pick themselves up first on the ladder. And that was a really good game 1 to be able to do it. They made one mistake in the bottom lane, overextending. But from the mid game, the vision control was there, the team fights were there, really nice skirmishes and control around the map, and they did it easy.
And Legacy really showing why they're a top 3 team at the moment during that mid and late game. But for now, to break down the rest of the match, let's give it back to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Spawn and Fish. Well, there we have it. Legacy taking the first game 1-0 over AV. And Minky, you boys looked a bit shaky there at the start. AV putting up a bit of a fight for the first 10 minutes or so.
Oh, they were just a little bit disorientated because of the pause. Obviously forgot TP timers. Copped a little cheeky TP from the Nautilus. Dropped a couple kills, but it was fine.
Mendrix, let's take a look at this draft. We talked about it a bit during the pause, but do you feel like AV got anywhere close to playing to their win conditions today?
Yeah, they did, to a degree. They had the right idea of what they wanted to do. They had a lot of decent engage with the Kazakhs. Oh, no, sorry, not with the Kazakhs. They had a lot of decent engage. Actually, yes, with the Kazakhs and with the Nautilus as well. I mean, that's something that you have those two options with, because as soon as they do jump into that particular team fight composition, you get the wild growth that gives you the knock up and allows you to continue the team fight, especially when the Nautilus jumps into the middle of it first. And really, when we do see them actually initiate on this a couple times, when we saw in the top lane when Sybil decided to jump onto Tally, then we had the wild growth immediately afterwards. That allowed them to sort of get a nice good engage of what their composition wanted to do, but just couldn't execute on it in the mid lane.
Meanwhile, for Legacy, Minky, I mean, what did you see as their major win conditions, and do you feel like they played towards them with their team comp?
Well, definitely. I mean, like, if you look at the team comp we have, like, there's lots of damage in our backline. And in order for them to do damage, or for AV to do damage, they have to come into us. So they're pretty much jumping into heaps of damage, and they got roasted, quite literally.
And the other thing to note as well is, I mean, the casters touched on this, you know, Spawn and Fish said Carbon just sat bot lane. He was there the entire time, and it really showed with Lost specifically. That guy was absolutely popping off. 911, 4,000 gold at one point in time in the game. So really, at that point, it was sort of just a natural, organic reliance of the game. The ADC's that far ahead, probably going to win.
All right, well, let's take a look at AV's early game metrics, because I know you were kind of impressed by some of their team play.
That's right, and this does comes down to, again, to their team composition. This is what we wanted to see from AV, to actually have that early game initiation. And Sirius, as you see here, it's just perfect with the lineup of how they had that. You have the Lulu to give the nice prop-up, to give the knockback, and Legacy have really no response to this situation, and even bringing down Triple to make sure that they clean up effectively. And it does put them in a good spot in the game, but they're just never able to finish it off afterwards.
I mean, Legacy should not have been pushing that deep. With no TP advantage, Carbon should have been topside, obviously. Yeah. He was just too focused on snowballing bot and targeting the weak point of AV that he had a little oversight, I guess.
Well, I mean, look, he did succeed in snowballing bot towards the end, right? Obviously, because like we said before, Lost was way ahead. But let's move to mid lane now, because I know Claire, it's his first week back in the OPL, and he popped off during that game, Hendrix.
Yeah, it really showed us what he can do when he does manage to get the drop on towards that bot lane. Specifically with Ezreal here, you do see him just absolutely get mutilated by that ultimate. No chance with what happened. And the reason why this was set up was because Legacy had done their due diligence. They had gone there earlier, they had set up the wards, they had managed to get control of that river. There was a little bit of a misstep from Carbon before trying to get the kick, but the big thing was they still had control of that area. And AV decided to walk back into it, and when they did walk back into it, they ended up walking into a blender, and Legacy ended up getting the momentum that they needed for the rest of the game just off that.
So, Minky, overall then, you're pretty happy with how you boys played in that first game?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been a bit cleaner, but, you know, a win's a win.
Mendrix, your thoughts, final thoughts before we get to a break?
I really love the mid game from Legacy. AV do need to bounce back. I think they have the ability to sort of throw in some spicy picks and see if they can actually get a game back.
All right, well, that is game 1 of Legacy versus Avant Garde. But do not go anywhere, because we will be back with game 2 right after this.
Nautilus locks down Lost. Carbon as well as Cupcake jumping in, but that's a wild growth onto all these already this huge Nautilus. Carbon will be the first to fall. Triple dashes in into the bottom lane, and Avant-Garde take down 3 members of Legacy. Yeah, Ari's gone to the back, but Claire hiding in the shadows, already taken down Blinky, chasing on towards Jake as well. Even Sibyl's been in this fight. That's a flash forward from Lost, and Legacy pick up 4 kills just like that. Full-blown fight breaks out. Series will fall, stands on top of the equalizer. Jake down to no health. Blinky will be the next one to go down. Legacy, Blinky health bars across the board. Has triple dashes on in, tries to get out, stunned up by the Braum. That's a double kill for Lost. And Avant-Garde still pushing on through. Redemption will be going down. Claire still waiting for the right time to go in. He's going to now jump into the fight. Still yet to use his ultimate. But the rest of Legacy are piling on through. Sid will be forced to back away. Tally will burn the Lulu alive. And only Series and Sybil left up as Legacy are able to win the team fight. And they push towards the Nexus here, Spawn. That first turret is going to be able to fall. Legacy pushing for the second. They've done it again, just like in week 1. They're able to take down Avant-Garde in game 1.
Occasion. I stay ready cause destiny impatient. Changes, I've been seeing changes. If you talking fire, then we speak the same language. And mine don't ever get extinguished. Kick out my friends on one set of fingers. And they trying to cut the supply, but my energy is at an all-time high. Now let me give you what you came for. Coming up, I'm coming up. Feel the rush, I feel the rush. If this ain't legendary, what you call it? I said if this ain't legendary, what you call it?
Chosen of the moon.